Likkle Byte Ideas, where we discuss how Likkle ideas are transformed into big dreams. On the toolkit, and you will access a lot of resources. A lot of the information that we presented here today, there are a lot of activity sheets. So we encourage you to download some of that information. Also, there's a digital swag bag with Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Doreed Whitlock. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Samuel Fields Consulting Group. And today we are delighted to be back again in studio. We're going to be talking about a very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about creativity, entrepreneurship. My co-host is running a bit late, our CEO, Megan Samuel Fields. And she's going to join us momentarily, but we're going to get started with our guest. She was here. If you attended our Pathway to Prosperity webinar about 2 weeks ago, she was one of the guest speakers. She was so dynamic, and we're delighted to bring her back. Let me welcome the wonderful Luana Laurent. Luana, let me bring you back on screen. I'm new to this. Let's see if I can bring you in. There you go. Luana, how are you today?
Hi, Doreed. I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Welcome back to Likkle Byte Ideas. It's been about over a year since we had you on the show, even though we had you on our Pathway to Prosperity webinar.
I'm excited to be back. I mean, coming from our recent discussion.
Yep, looking forward to it.
Yes, it was a fun experience, and I'm looking to share more information with your listeners.
Fantastic. So Luana is with a company called Finance Focus, and I think she's the perfect, she is definitely the perfect person to be talking about this topic. If you got the notification, it's navigating the pathways to creative and savvy entrepreneurship. And Luana has a very exciting story, which we will talk about. Luana, let me give you an opportunity to introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your background, your business, and why we see you as a savvy, creative entrepreneur.
Okay, for those of you who are not familiar, I am Luana Laura, the founder of Finance Focus Inc. in Dominica. And we are a financial literacy company which coaches and teaches individuals and entrepreneurs how to manage their money, how to grow their businesses, how to understand their relationship with money so that it impacts their success in business. We've been doing this about, this year gives it 8 years that we're doing this, and we have grown into transforming our passion into a profit. And that's exactly why we're here today, to understand how you can do that and to make it easier for you as an entrepreneur. We are going to have some great discussions this afternoon.
I so look forward to it. And Luana, as we were speaking before we got started, I want to start by pointing out some of the mega businesses that we know today that started out as ideas, and people turning exactly what you talked about, turning their passion into profits and just thinking outside the box and taking risks and, realizing incredible success as a result. One idea that comes to mind is Airbnb. When you can rent a part of your house to a stranger and monetize it. People sometimes have a guest bedroom, a guest house in their backyard. And so this is a way that people can monetize You can have a 2-bedroom apartment and you rent one out to generate some income. Spanx. What an
Yeah.
unconventional idea. Cutting the feet. Cutting is essentially, Luana, we women know, is cutting the feet off of your pantyhose. That's how it started off. We know the support that you get from your pantyhose. You don't always need to be wearing pantyhose. So why not
Nope.
use the same thing that keeps you intact to keep everything intact when you don't need your feet covered, right? So Spanx is another success story. Tesla,
Yeah, it has transformed women's wear.
I'm telling you, and it's so simple, right? Someone had a thought, acted on it, and here we are, a multi-million-dollar business. Tesla, luxury electric cars. Tesla came in, disrupted the auto industry, and it has made electric vehicles mainstream, not an alternative. We're moving towards mainstream electric cars based on the impact, the style, the luxury that Tesla brought to the auto industry. Rent the runway, borrow, don't buy designer clothes. Island people, years ago, this was unheard of. We don't wear people's clothes, okay? But when you stop to think about it, do you really always need to spend all that money for something that you wear once? You go to a big event, everyone's going to remember what you wore. Chances are, if you live in a small society, you're not going to wear it again. If you work to the banquet this year, that's the crescendo. Where are you going to wear it again? So why spend all that money on an outfit that you're going to wear once when you can rent it and then someone else wears it? I mean, it may not work for a small population like Antigua and Dominica and some of the other islands, but in some place like the United States, I mean, that dress can make it around New Jersey, in about a month and no one would ever know, right? And so you
There
can
are
get,
also some businesses here that do the thrift shopping as well. They buy your used clothes and they resell it by styling it. So it's happening here.
fantastic, but our parents would never, we don't wear people's clothes. That's a cultural thing that is changing. Younger people don't care. I have 2 daughters in college. They love to go thrifting. They have no shame in their game. They go thrifting, and all their friends do it, and they love it. And of course, it's a part of sustainability. You don't have all this wastage. You have a closet full of clothes. You throw stuff out every year. Younger people definitely are embracing, rent the runaway and thrifting. Another big one is Canva.
Yes, my favorite.
And there are a few like
Graphic
Canva.
designing for amateurs like myself.
Yeah. So if you're a non-designer, it gives you so much support. You drag and you drop, and it's become a multi-billion-dollar company used by individuals worldwide.
And it
I believe
continues
most
to evolve. It continues to evolve,
absolutely,
making creativity
absolutely.
easier every day.
Yep. And then of course we have Uber, which like Airbnb, it's a decentralized currency that exists only on, I'm sorry, what am I saying? Anyone with a car could become a taxi driver via an app. And so you have a car, it can actually help you pay for the car. You're in college, you need a part-time job, you can turn it on and off when you're available. And of course, there are things you have to do to qualify. But again, it's something that has really reshaped urban transportation. And now it's a global giant. And the list goes on and on and on. Do you have any non-tradition, any unconventional ideas that you can think of? They may not be global, that have had major success.
Well, on my island, I tend to look inward here because I see so much potential in a lot of things that we're doing. They may not be on the grand scale as successful as those that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
internationally. But just looking at some of our farmers and agro processors that have been transforming honey and sea
Mm-hmm.
moss
Oh, wow.
into some unique products, and they've gone on to win international awards. You know, you have Be Natural and La Vie Miel. You have Hey Mama, CMOS. These are budding entrepreneurs who have the potential to become like Canva and Airbnb. They're using these traditional resources, and they're disrupting the industry by converting it into unique products.
And Luana, that's the word, disruption. That is the word. Disruption in business today. It's a very positive thing. It's not like
Yes.
when you had a disruptive student in class. It's a very different thing when it comes to business. So Megan is here. Let's just take a break and welcome her.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here and listening to the conversation. It sounds really interesting. Hi, Luana.
Hi, Megan. How are you?
Good. I liked what you said about these new businesses in Dominica. That's very creative, I find. Nice. And I think we have similar things in Antigua as well. I don't know about you in Dominica, I'm sure it's similar, but since COVID, there's been so many new novel types of entrepreneurs, the different
Definitely.
products
I
that
think
they've brought to the market.
the creativity has expanded.
Yeah, yeah, and that's great. And that's what we want.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure. Let's disrupt this place.
disrupt,
So, Luana,
absolutely.
talking about creativity, it rolled off your tongue so nicely. Help us understand, how do you define a creative entrepreneurship?
Oh, okay. I believe a creative entrepreneur is like somebody who blends their personality with innovation, artistic expression, and some, business skill. And like we mentioned, they would be considered disruptors who kind of leverage that characteristic, unlike the traditional business owners. Now, I would consider myself as one because I built an authentic brand around my personality. I've leveraged digital tools to monetize my content. You know, I focus on sustainability and social impact. And essentially, you try to adapt through your originality and your innovation. I personally believe that, to be a creative entrepreneur, you have to think outside the box.
Mhm,
You,
exactly.
you have to embrace change, and you have to build your business that basically reflects your passion, but also it satisfies market demand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
And I think as well, in being a creative entrepreneur, you have to be willing to fail and recognize that
Yeah.
failure is not
Yep. Take
necessarily a
some
bad
risks.
thing. Yeah,
Not
yeah.
necessarily
You have to be
creative. I
risky
mean,
for sure.
all entrepreneurs should be
So
open
true.
to that.
So true.
You're
But
right. You're
but
right.
especially being creative, doing things differently. And I like what you said, doing what you like and putting your own personal spin on things.
Mm-hmm.
So in doing that, sometimes you're going into uncharted waters, and you might things may not quite work out the way you thought it would, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Doesn't
learning
always. It
experience.
doesn't always.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
we talked about out of the box thinking. If you're going to be thinking out of the box, you're going to get resistance
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh
because you're
yeah.
going outside of your lane. You're coloring outside of the lines. Okay. So, with out of the box thinking comes a certain amount of risk, a certain amount of confidence, and a stick to itiveness because you're going to be, it may take a while for people to understand what it is you're trying to do because it's so out of the box.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And just when I joined, you guys were talking about the various tools that you use. You were speaking about Canva. I think those also are things that entrepreneurs need to embrace, to see how well we can use these tools to develop our own brand, to do things differently. So
Mika, we weren't even talking about it as a tool. We were talking about it
really?
as one of those out of the box companies. We went through a list of companies
Oh, okay.
that kind of
So when I
emerged
joined that,
as a result of
okay,
out of the box thinking. And Canva
okay.
was just one example. We did
I
Airbnb,
see.
Tesla, Spanx, as you know, is
Right, of
basically
course.
cutting off the feet off of your stockings
Mm-hmm.
because it's
Mm-hmm.
that top part of your stockings that gives you the support. So if you don't need the stockings, why
Get your
not create
Spanx.
Spanx that you can use every day?
Get your
Yeah.
Spanx.
So
Absolutely.
we were just going through a list, but it's interesting you said that because
Yeah.
Canva kind of
That's what
came
I
out.
thought. That's what I
Yeah,
thought you guys had gone. Yeah.
but you're so right. It's
Okay.
one of those tools that will catapult you.
Yeah.
Once you've made a decision to think outside the box, it's one of those, you can make it look like you are a huge company with a whole graphics department and marketing department,
Yeah.
like Luana
Yep.
creating all
So,
this great
yep.
content.
Yeah.
I use Canva for everything. I actually
Awesome.
did my vision board on Canva using a bingo card template. So I use it
Wow.
for both professional and personal use.
That's amazing. That's good.
Wow.
Okay. Cool.
So tell us, Luana, how can creativity serve as a competitive advantage in entrepreneurship?
Okay, I think once we understand what a competitive advantage is, it helps us to answer the question. So we know that a competitive advantage is this unique attribute or strategy, or even our capabilities that will like enable us to outperform our competitors, right? So once you understand what that is, it's easy to answer the question, how can it serve us in entrepreneurship? And essentially, creativity sets us apart. Your creativity can be a competitive advantage. It helps you differentiate yourself in the market. You create a brand identity. It allows you to be adaptable. It helps you to solve complex problems. It helps you to build relationships through your own personal experiences using low cost marketing. So once you have that degree of creativity, it will help you to anticipate trends and build a sustainable business model. To me, I feel like creativity is the oxygen in entrepreneurship, because if you don't have that degree of creativity, you won't be able to pivot, you won't be able to scale,
Yeah.
and it limits your ability to reach a large amount of people.
And that's what sets you apart. Sometimes I
Absolutely.
know I've heard persons, they come up with a great idea and they don't want to share it because they think somebody else might run with their idea. But
I mean, yeah.
your creativity will set you apart anyway.
And
You and
So,
I
position
can
you
have the same business
innovative.
idea, and each of us put a different spin on it. I mean,
stay
look
on
at
it.
what created the world. There are so many similar ideas that
Exactly.
are so successful just by
Yep.
tweaking one aspect of the business.
Yep.
So
Hmm.
That's so
we should
true.
not be afraid, if somebody copies our idea. And I'm sure during this discussion, you will hear a lot about my story soon enough, where I experienced something like that. And I would let the listening audience know how I overcome that. But just to show
Mm.
that when you add your own unique spice, you know, to your
Yes, spice.
entrepreneurial journey, it
Hmm.
sets you apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also,
Absolutely.
I think creativity helps you with problem solving. If you're a creative mind, once you
Yeah.
encounter um, roadblocks, challenges, if you bring that creative mindset where you're willing to work around these problems, you're set because you don't accept no for an answer. You don't accept, you just see these things as, obstacles that need to be surmounted,
And I
Mhm.
like
right?
what Suella said about it being the oxygen. So your
Mm,
creativity brings more oxygen into what you're doing. So you've tried
yeah,
something and it doesn't work. Hey, you go back to the
yeah,
drawing board, more
Right, more.
creativity, more
absolutely.
oxygen, more
Yeah.
energy. Yeah, absolutely.
Think differently, adapt.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
do I, you don't, problems aren't things that you see as permanent. They're things that you have to get over. So if you bring a creative mindset, you're already thinking about ways that you can address problems. You're already thinking about how you can add value, right? How do you
Mm-hmm.
distinguish yourself? Yes, you have
Mm-hmm.
two products or services that are very similar, but how can you add some kind of experience that
Yeah.
distinguishes, some customer experience perhaps that distinguishes your product from, your competitors,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Competitive
Another thing,
advantage.
Competitive
absolutely. Another
advantage.
thing
That's
that I
exactly what
thought
it
about in
is.
taking my notes, efficiency. You and I may have a similar product, but I may be able to get my my production costs, or increase my output because I'm doing it more creatively and more efficiently, right?
And as a
So it may
finance
take you a day
person,
to do something.
Hmm.
I was saying as a finance person, efficiency is key
Oh,
because we want to make sure from the
yes.
bottom line that we're making a profit. So if we can use our creativity to be more efficient, which then helps us with our bottom line, then that's where we need to get to. Yeah.
Yep. So creativity isn't just for artists. We're going to share
Oh,
some creativity.
absolutely.
We're going to share a picture with you that from an artist later. But creativity isn't just for artists. It's for accountants. It's a business superpower. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
So whether you're an entrepreneur, a finance person, an employee, a leader, your ability to think differently, adapt quickly, and bring fresh ideas to the table can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's
Okay.
see.
Now, Luana, again, you deal with all of these entrepreneurs and you advise them. Let's look at identifying opportunities. It's all well and good to be creative, but how do you use that creativity to identify opportunities that are good for you? I mean, not every opportunity, of course, is an opportunity that works for you. But how can aspiring entrepreneurs identify unique business opportunities in a very saturated market?
But we've spoken about the creativity. That's one of these things. But I think
Mhm.
in addition to the creativity, there needs to be some level of strategic thinking and
Mm.
deep understanding of the customer's needs. As entrepreneurs, especially creative entrepreneurs, we tend to fall in love with our idea rather than falling in love with solving the problem. So
Mhm.
what we essentially need to do is, pair the strategic thinking and getting a deeper understanding of what our customers need in order for us to penetrate these markets. And there are a few things that we can do. I mean, for example, I can use myself. For example, one of the things that we did was we specialized, we niched down. That is, we were looking for micro needs in the market. So, for example, when we create content, let's say we would target single parents who have small businesses. So there are different
Mhm.
clusters in the market that are underserved. So you look out for those clusters and you target them
Oh, what happened?
Hmm. Did we
created
lose
or
Luana?
No, she's back. She's back.
Okay.
can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you
Yes,
for
I
a
think
little
we
bit.
lost you for a second. You're back.
Okay, I was saying that what we did as Finance Focus, we would have specialized to serve underserved needs. So we looked for the micro needs in our community, in our market. For example, targeting single parents who have small businesses and created certain content or packages that would serve their needs. So you can niche down and specialize. Another thing that you can do, like how Canva did, they simplified graphic designing for amateurs. You can
Mhm.
innovate your offerings through technology.
Mhm.
If that is the type of industry that you are, you add some level of innovation to it to either improve the efficiency, like what we were talking about, improving access, or just creating a better user experience. All these can allow you to penetrate larger markets and saturated markets.
Mhm.
And something that we notice that many of us entrepreneurs, we limit our ability to collaborate or
Oh,
partner
yeah.
That's a
strategically
good point.
with either similar businesses or people with additional resources. If you cannot do it alone, you can partner with a complementary business or someone that has the resources to help you penetrate the market.
Mhm. I agree. And we
Yep.
need to do more of that. We really do need to see how we can do more of that
Hmm.
because there's so much we can do
Another thing
together.
earlier, Luana, you talked about disruption. And I think this is definitely a way that creative entrepreneurs can crack into a very crowded market. How can you go in? There's a market you may want to get into. And the only way to get into it, because it's so crowded, is to disrupt it. The way business is
Yeah.
done, perhaps. An example that I researched, and I'm always really intrigued by how they did it, is the Dollar Shave Club. Something as ubiquitous as a shaving, or to us, may seem so ubiquitous, how you're shaving razors. They created a subscription service. So they cut out the middleman, added some humor to it, and cultivated these direct to consumer relationships. So instead of you having to go to CVS or to a department store, a pharmacy to buy your razors, they cultivated a relationship and kind of customized the service. So it's a
Hmm.
subscription service, and of course, you not only get your razors, you get shaving cream and other products that revolve around shaving. So they made a whole club and disrupted what is considered to be a ubiquitous thing, something you go to the supermarket and you just pick it up like you pick up your deodorant, right? So that they really, really did that. And I mean, the whole thing about storytelling, they made sure that they incorporated some storytelling and telling you,
Mm.
why you should shave and giving you some little anecdotes. But a company that really capitalized on storytelling, on something again very ubiquitous and a crowded market, Ben and Jerry's. Every one of their
Yeah.
flavors has a story.
Yep, that's so true.
So when you're buying Ben and Jerry's, you're not just buying a flavor, and most of their flavors are good. There's a story behind it, right? And you want to read that story, you want to experience it, you want to tell others.
Because I think in all of us, we like stories. We like to
Oh
hear the
yes.
stories. So if we can
Definitely.
find
And
ways
that's one
to
of
share.
the best ways to connect with your customers by sharing your
Exactly.
own personal experiences and
Yeah.
stories. They build a
Mhm.
relationship with you and your brand.
Yeah.
Yep, another industry that was disrupted. We talked about Airbnb earlier. They just came in and disrupted the accommodation sector, right? So no longer, I mean, in the past when you were traveling, it had to be a motel, and then of course when
Or hotel.
Airbnb came in, it was more, low end kind of accommodations. But now you have mansions. You can, the spectrum of accommodations on Airbnb has expanded significantly. And so the hotel industry fought it. Of course, I worked in tourism for many years. Even in the Caribbean, a lot of legislation had to change in
Yeah.
terms of how you collect head tax, how
Absolutely.
standards are set in the industry. But I mean, it was so well received and it was expanding so much that the Caribbean had no choice but to accommodate this emerging sector that people were demanding, because people like the idea of having options, and they didn't always want to deal with the standard hotel room that had dominated that space for many years.
All right. So just keeping track of the time. We're halfway
Yes,
there. Now might be a good time to take a break and look at some questions
some questions. I agree.
and comments.
And welcome our
So,
guests.
and welcome our guests. So glad that you're all here. Um, We have Althea Dyer, who is saying good evening all. Hi, Althea. Glad that you're here. And then we have Thad. Hi, Thad. Long time no here. Thad says, good afternoon. Sometimes we are more creative than we give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely.
A background of necessity fosters a creative mindset and inclination. Sometimes being confident or brave can unleash the creativity. And that is so true. You're right. I think we all have creative genes within us. And sometimes, they say necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's when we hit rock bottom, or we've tried the standard and it doesn't work, that we then realize we have to do things differently. So that's true. Sometimes I think we're more creative than we give ourselves credit for.
And force makes water go uphill. Our parents say that all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know one of the courses in my studies, it was about creative problem solving. And one of the things that the professor said very early on is we're all creative. And it took me a while to accept that, because we normally use the word creativity with art. So anything artistic, you say, oh, she's so creative. But as an accountant, as an attorney, creativity and those types of businesses don't seem to go hand in hand, because that's what we were taught. But what the course showed was that we are all creative, and we can all apply creative problem solving skills to just about any situation. So you are right that we do have a lot of creativity within us. And sometimes it's the things that's happening around us that cause us to lean in to our creativity. And our Chief Kindness Officer is on, Miriam Samuel, and she says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Miriam Samuel, our CKO. And she can talk about creativity. She has been...
Don't start her up.
Yeah, she's been creative and leaning into her creative side, well, actually all her life. Yeah, even at 90 and a half years old. All right, that's all that we have for now.
Well, before we get back into our questions, how about sharing the creativity from our artist?
Absolutely.
As a segue, if you got our newsletter this week, Odessa Whitlock, my daughter, she is a senior looking to graduate. She's an artist, art education major, and she applies art to everything. Her outfits, her hair, she's walking art.
This is her dorm room.
And this is her dorm room.
Wow.
It's a tiny space. It's all of maybe 10 by 10, typical dorm room. And so she's an art.
These are all her art pieces here?
And she used a lot of her art pieces.
Oh, nice.
To decorate her room. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's a burst of color, her personality, and of course it keeps her inspired. Nice. And we featured it in this week's newsletter to show that just as she is creative, she uses a lot of found objects and goes to the thrift stores, uses what she has, found objects, and we can apply all of that to our finances. So we invite you to, if you're not currently receiving our newsletter, please send us an email, info@samuelfieldsconsulting.com. We'd love to add you to our mailing list. And of course, we have a feature in every newsletter where we take you back to the previous newsletter. So if you send it to us today, you'll be on our next issue. You'll receive our next issue, but you can always click back to get the previous issue. So again, info@samuelfieldsconsulting.com. Send us an email. We'd love to add you to our mailing list. So we still have a lot to cover. I want to talk about technology, Luana, and how can entrepreneurs leverage technology and online platforms to enhance their creative endeavors?
But as we're in this space right now, I mean, when you talk about technology, over the past year and most recently over the past couple of days, one thing comes to mind, artificial intelligence.
Mm,
Imagine blending your original creativity with AI-powered creativity. You can become a force to be reckoned with. And by using digital tools for creation, educating yourself, even executing your projects, you give
mm,
yourself an opportunity to reach more people, to streamline your operations, and to amplify that hidden creativity that some of us don't know that we have. I've been improving my navigation skills through the AI space, and it has added so much value to me.
wow,
Just
nice.
just as it's good, it has its negative, its negative impact. So you just have to ensure that you keep yourself safe, fact check the information,
Have
because
to fact check. Have
sometimes
to.
you go back and forth with the AI, like, that's not what I know. So
Yes.
you fact check the information, you test the information, you add your own unique spin to it. So I honestly believe that using AI can enhance our creativity. As it
Mhm.
relates to online platforms, definitely the world and business, it's moving from online into digital transformation, right? So we want to make sure that we are on that learning curve, that we're not held behind, that our businesses don't lose access to certain information and access to new customers all the way across the globe. It's open and
Mhm.
available for us to use. I think we
For
should
sure.
definitely leverage technology.
Yeah. And I like what you said about learning curve. We have to be constantly learning. This is not a
Mhm.
static thing at all. When we look back, I'm sure you have
As an
similar situations,
entrepreneur,
Well, you have
Luana,
to be ahead of the curve.
there's so many businesses when we were growing up as children that are no longer around,
No more. No more.
and they've been replaced by bigger, different businesses. And there might be many reasons why, but I do believe a part of it is not keeping up with the changing trends. And part
Absolutely.
of that is you got to be nimble.
yeah,
You have to keep learning. You have to understand your customers and the changes that they are experiencing. So, and you also have to be ready to be nimble to make the changes to suit whatever changes your
definitely.
customers are going through. So
I
it
also
Yeah, and
wanted
one
to.
business that comes to mind, when you speak about they're no longer here and keeping up with the trend is Blockbuster. You
Oh,
see
yeah.
that
perfect. Exactly.
Blockbuster believed that we would be watching these tapes forever, and Netflix came
Exactly.
in and
Absolutely.
Disrupt. Oh
disrupted the
yeah.
market. And look at
Oh
it
yeah.
now.
Yeah. Another one was Kodak as well. We all remember Kodak.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we thought that was it.
Even though
And
some young people
Hmm.
want to bring it back for nostalgic reasons.
maybe for nostalgic reasons, but those days are gone.
Yep.
Those
I
We
days
may
are
have
also
gone.
to
wanted
add
to
some
touch.
creativity to that.
Was
Yeah, I
that?
also wanted to touch on 3D printing,
Ah.
which allows,
Hmm.
inventors and people creating products and prototypes to get these things done quickly. So instead
Mhm.
of in the past having to go through the whole manufacturing and doing things from scratch, 3D printing allows entrepreneurs to create prototypes very quickly and affordably. That's something to
Absolutely.
watch.
Absolutely.
Augmented reality and virtual reality.
Hmm.
They've been talking about that a lot in travel for a very long time. Some very advanced destinations are using it, right? So no longer do you have to, go to travel agents and sell and what have you. You can create, augmented and virtual reality where people actually
Wow.
watch these videos or whatever you call them, and they feel like they're a part of it. So that is something to watch. Anything experiential, it gives people that immersive type of experience whether for a product demo or for a virtual showroom or for any kind of interactive branding. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and destinations that are able to get ahead in that space first are going to do very well. The whole business of big data, we see it a lot in politics. You know, I can think of a lot of other industries, but I think that's one that people can relate to a lot. When it's time for political polling, everybody wants to see what the data says, and the big data and the demographics. And in the United States, what the different states are doing, the blue state, the red state, that's going to become very, very big in a lot of predictive modeling, even for consumer goods. You know, social media. You know, if you use social media a lot, you want to look at your analytics. You definitely want to make sure that you know, for TikTok and Instagram and all these things, you can use social media in a very effective way and a very strategic way. And crowdsourcing and collaborations. You know, crowdsourcing allows people who never work together or know each other to come
That's
together.
going to be the next big thing. Well, it's already, I was going to say that's going to be the next big thing, but it's already a big thing.
Right.
And it's helping so many entrepreneurs who on their own wouldn't be able to get the funding.
Yep. So technology, while it does not replace creativity, I think it amplifies it.
Definitely.
Just the tools, the platforms, and the possibilities that technology provides. If you're a smart entrepreneur, you can outthink, outmaneuver, and outperform your competitors by leveraging technology.
Absolutely.
Any thoughts, Luana?
I agree with you. I mean, technology can be both positive and negative. However, it's how you use it, you know, and your access to it is what will allow you to outperform your competitors, get access to your customers, and essentially, like you said, amplify your creativity.
Absolutely. So we are almost 3/4 of the way along, and of course, we're going to make sure that we leave some time for more questions. But Luana, this is always such a pleasure talking with you because you have such a wealth. You know, when you speak, it's not just theory. You have so many examples.
Experience.
You live it, you breathe it, and you're still evolving and mastering it. But what advice do you have? You know, it's so difficult to have such a engaging conversation in such a limited amount of time, and we're talking about entrepreneurship and creativity. What advice would you give to someone who's just started their entrepreneurial journey and perhaps they don't think that they're creative? Did we lose Luana?
Oh, looks like we've...
I'm here. I
She's
think
back. She's back.
Internet connections.
Yep.
Right. What advice do you have for someone who may be starting out as an entrepreneur who may feel that they just aren't creative? They don't have it. They don't, you know, I'm not creative. I can't think that way. What advice do you have for them?
Okay. So this question hits home. It resonates with me because I think if I were to be asked that question as a budget entrepreneur at that time, I would not be able to you know, give any response to that. However, what I can tell entrepreneurs who are just starting off is to bet on yourself. If you are not a confident individual, you will not be a confident entrepreneur. And you need confidence to bet on yourself so you can take the necessary risks to take action, to grow the business. You may have an idea. It may be your passion. But if you do not have the confidence to believe that you can transform it, according to you guys, from passion into profits, you will not reach far. And I personally am grateful to my mentor who saw that weakness in me when I started Because, Finance Focus started off as a hobby. And I did not see the business side of things. I just loved sharing tips. I loved educating. And when I realized, I need to be more confident in myself. I could see the shyness. And the other day I was actually looking at my first video and how I've transformed over the past 8 years in doing
Oh,
these tips.
wow.
It
We
has
would love to
really.
see it, Luana.
I'm gonna do a reel about it. It's hilarious. But you see, confidence in yourself and confidence in business, it goes hand in hand. So that would be my advice to a new entrepreneur. If you don't have the confidence, find it, look within yourself, identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Yes, you can do it for yourself as well, not just for your business, and you'll be able to identify the areas where you can improve.
Awesome. I think what I would say, I would add to that and say, you kind of touched on it a bit. You mentioned having a mentor. Being an entrepreneur, going it alone is tough. It would be good if you have a mentor, an accountability buddy, somebody who you can be real with, even with whether or not you're confident enough, and to give you that extra boost when things get rough, because trust me, things will get rough. So my bit of advice would be find a good mentor, someone who has either done it already or is just a great supporter who will help you through the rough times. That will go a long way. But I really like what you said about believing in yourself, because, and I think sometimes as women, we have to really
That's a whole nother
dig
show.
a little deeper, a whole other show. Or we
That's a
got to
whole
dig a
nother
little
show.
deeper
We should do in
because
Women's Month. It's a whole nother show.
because we weren't necessarily raised to be confident.
Not at all.
We're
Not in the way that we need to be,
Exactly.
Any additional questions, Megan, before we look to conclude? Comments, questions?
So we have a comment from Thad. Thad says, "This is good. I have to go, but this was awesome." He says, "I'm in the corporate world, but I'm in a role that allows me to be creative and use entrepreneurial skills." And that's good too, because an entrepreneur, well, I think we had it on in another session. We were talking about an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur.
Oh yeah, bring in that entrepreneurial mindset.
Right. So he has the entrepreneurial mindset. Yes.
Yeah.
So he said, took some notes and we put it into action. Megan, it's always a pleasure to connect. Thad and I worked together some years ago, and he's an awesome guy. Thank you, Thad. Yeah, that's all we have.
Well, I want to say, I've always considered myself a creative person. I didn't know that's what it was till I got older, but I was always very,
And I can second that. I can second that. She was always creative. Yes.
Didn't know what it was, but that's who I was.
You didn't have a title.
I didn't have the title. I didn't know what I was doing.
And luckily, I think for you were in an environment that allowed you to be creative.
To some extent.
Even though you didn't have...
That's important.
Yeah, even if you didn't have the label. It's to some extent, yes. But I think even more than others.
And with someone like our mother, it was embraced to some degree as well.
Yes.
Because I was a big storyteller, and she liked it. She encouraged it and highlighted it.
Yeah, she encouraged that. Yeah.
But I truly believe that creativity is the entrepreneur superpower, especially in today's world.
Absolutely.
It can fuel disruption. We talked about it. I love that word, disruption. I love to be disruptive. I was disruptive as a child. I love being a disruptive adult, but in a respectful way. I believe in turning things on its head. If it's not working, let's do something about it.
And it's a thing, huh? It's a thing. There are books on disruptive thinking. Yeah. So,
go to the source, turn it on its head. I believe that. So you force people, shock people, turn the table over in a meeting. It sends shock waves that you'll get some action, right? It drives meaningful change. Okay? Sometimes you need to go to the source and just blow up the thing. It turns dreams into thriving businesses. I used to have a best friend who would say to me, 1 day at a time. And I would say to her, I don't do 1 day at a time. Okay, I do 3 weeks and 3 months at a time. I don't have time. Life is too short. If you're going to do 1 day at a time, you get left behind. I say it. Okay.
Especially with the world that we're in.
You have to be a few
So this
steps
is a
ahead.
I was like, 1 day at a time? No, we're going to be in the back of the line. No. So I really believe the question isn't if
like that.
creativity matters. It's
I like
how
that.
you use it to make your mark.
Absolutely.
So how will you think differently today is the question that I want to leave with our viewers. How will you think differently? How will you come up with big, bold ideas?
And then take the next step, because it's the how, and then you have to put it into action. Because sometimes we get stuck on the how and we think and we think and we think, but it's to now put it into action. And that's where being confident, being bold, being not afraid to make a mistake. Because, hey, so what if you make a mistake? You learn. It's a different way of doing things.
It's the only way to break through the clutter. If you think regular or small or standard,
you will remain right there.
You're going to stay right there. No one's going to see you.
Yeah.
So you go in and you think big. You don't even know how you're
going
to
go home.
You land somewhere. You land on your back, you roll over,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So it's about being willing to experiment, being willing to take risks. Like you said earlier, Luana, pivot when necessary. It's about pivoting and not being prepared to stay at the same place. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to be out of place. But what do? Be prepared to pivot. You have to be resourceful.
As I hear pivot, I'm thinking of netball. Those of us who played netball. You got the ball.
Yep. Exactly.
And you got to pivot.
And on your feet
somewhere else, because your aim is to get that ball in the goal. So come on now, in the hoop.
So be prepared to be resourceful. Be prepared to be unconventional. Be prepared to break the mold. Carve out your unique niche in a crowded space. And that is my gospel of today. Over to you, Luana.
Final words.
Okay, thank you so much for inviting me. I mean, one last thing that I can leave with our listeners. As creative entrepreneurs, we usually think that, we need money to start, but while having financial resources is important, sometimes you just have to start where you are, with what you have, with whom you know, and just take the risk and the leap of faith. Your passion will eventually turn into profit somewhere along the way. Because finance work started as a hobby, as I told you guys, but I did a lot of pro bono work to improve my craft, to build my brand, and then people saw my value and started paying me for that.
Mm-hmm.
So as a creative entrepreneur, you use these things in your environment, within yourself, to become what you want to be, to grow your business into who it is. Dorit, Megan, thank you so much for inviting me again. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, it's our pleasure. You always come.
Always a pleasure, Luana.
You come with fresh ideas.
Such a of
yes.
ideas and knowledge. And also to remind everyone.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Go right ahead.
No, I was going to ask Luana if she made connection with the persons in Dominica.
That's right.
Those movers and the shakers.
No, you would be surprised. It did not have to be a Dominican, but I met a Trinidadian.
Oh, okay. So it was the one.
So we had action between when we last saw you and today.
Excuse me?
You remember on the webinar?
Yes, so on the webinar, it says that there was somebody that I wanted to meet in Dominica, right?
Right.
However, I ended up meeting someone of a similar background from Trinidad. So I'm on my way there.
Oh, see?
There you go. There you go.
We told you.
All right. It's in the atmosphere. You got to go to Trinidad to come back to Dominica. That's good.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Excellent.
Fantastic.
This was great. Thank you so much,
this was great.
As usual, pleasure. You always come with a wealth of
just
ideas.
Let everyone know.
And thoughts. Go ahead,
Megan.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Friday, January 31st is, oh my goodness, Inspire Your Heart with Art Day. So I want
Nice.
everyone to be inspired by art
Inspired. All right.
on Friday, but recognize that that same inspiration from art can be brought to your business, it can be brought to your finances, it can be brought to all aspects of your life, your mental health.
Absolutely.
So think about art on Friday. Study the art, study the stories behind some piece of art, and may it inspire you to be a better entrepreneur, a better money manager, and to draw from the inspiration of any piece of art to make some changes in your life as a creative thinker.
Awesome.
And again, if you're not yet on our mailing list, you're missing out. Luana, you also have a newsletter. Why don't you let them know how they can get your newsletter?
Yes, absolutely.
You can visit our website, www.myfinancefocus.com, and subscribe to our newsletter, The Direct Deposit, where you can get tips and tricks on how to manage your business and personal finances. You can also follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, and check out our short tips and tips videos. In the palm of your hand, you can get a 1-minute financial tip that will take you for the day.
Awesome. I think I subscribed, but
Fantastic. Well, folks,
I'm going on again to subscribe again.
Okay.
Awesome.
well, where does the time go? We always think we have time and we just always barely make it in the hour.
Yes, absolutely.
There's
But
always
this
so
is
much to
good.
talk about. Luana, don't be a stranger. We have to have you back. We'll probably try to get you back
Absolutely.
during Women's History Month in March.
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
yes.
So we could talk about some of the unique challenges that women face. I think
Yes.
you'd be a perfect voice to talk about that. You have so much to offer with your creativity. And we want to
Thank
thank all of our listeners, viewers who joined us today. We hope that we provided some ideas and that you found, that you'll go out and really tap into your creativity. It's there. You just need to find it. You just need to harness it, but it's there.
Yep.
Send
It's
us an
good.
email. Let us know how it's going. We'd love to hear from you. We now have, in addition to our weekly newsletter, which is Likkle Byte, the Likkle Byte Ideas newsletter. We just added our Likkle Later newsletter, which comes out on Tuesday nights, because a lot of times after we send out our newsletter on Sunday, things come up and people get busy. So Tuesday is a shorter version, a more fun version, but we're doing a 2-for-1 because we're really getting a lot of demand from people who really like what we offer, and we're here to serve it up. So you get a second dose of big ideas on Tuesday after getting your main course on Sunday nights.
All right.
It's been a pleasure. We look forward to seeing you. We plan to be more regular. We know we've had some gaps. Life happens, but we want to be more regular as we go forward into 2025. And
Absolutely.
this was our last show in January. So we're glad that we were able to capture at least one show in January. We did a few.
We did too.
Leading up to our webinar, but we're glad we were able to catch you on the last Wednesday, in January. So we'll see you in February.
Okay. Thanks again, Luana.
And thanks again,
Thanks for
Luana.
having me.
Thanks everyone for joining us. It's been a great show. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you on the other side in February. Take care, everyone. Have a nice evening.
Bye, everyone.